I don't have much anymore. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to stage 4 of Zwift Games 2024. Today we are meeting on Glasgow's Crit Circuit, and this is going to be entirely different to what we done on Saturday when we did the epic stage. This is, on the other hand, the shortest stage of the whole event. Once again, I'm racing it in B category. It's going to be painfully fast, but hopefully it's not going to be painfully fast for long. So I'm really interested how it will go for me. As always, if you're racing, good luck. If you like my content, subscribe and enjoy.
So, as I have mentioned in the intro, this race is very short and fast, and I kind of hoped if I made a great effort, I could be finally bumped into B category. So, right from the start, I decided to go with the front group for as long as possible. By no stretch of imagination, I was convinced that it was realistic, but I really wanted to take that shot. This course is relatively easy. It's 5 laps around the Glasgow Crit Circuit. Each lap has a 3k of distance and 33 meters of elevation, which isn't very much, but on the other hand, the course is rarely perfectly flat, and of course, each lap has a go at the Clyde kicker, which is the short but very steep part of this course where you really need to dig deep. So here, after a brief lead-in, we are starting the lap 1 of the race. As predicted, the start of the race was crazy fast, but that usually settles down after a few minutes into more reasonable pace. This part of the course after the finishing banner is where you really want to recover, especially in the later laps, as it is the flat part of the course. The other half of the road is pretty much all rolling hills. Here comes the first Clyde kicker, and the way the climb is designed, you pretty much need to go all out on it to really take advantage of the momentum of the group. Thankfully, it is fairly short, so you go this hard for maybe like 10 seconds or so, and after the climb there's a descent, so you've got some opportunity to recover as well. This is probably the first mistake I've made in this race. I really didn't go all out, as I mentioned, and while I arrived at the top with the group, I was in the back, and as you can see on the descent, the group really started to drop me, so I really had to put the power down to stay with them, and basically I didn't have that recovery after the climb. I reconnected here with the group, but as you can see on the power chart, I was pretty much in the red since the Clyde kicker, and that really drained my energy that I could probably use more in the final lap of this race. So we are entering the finishing sprint at this point for the first lap of this course. I was kind of happy at this point because I realized I am able to stay with this group, with the front group. And before the race, I wasn't sure something like that was possible. And I realized it was, at least for some part of the race. So I was entering the second lap pretty content with my performance so far. Here you can see the effect I was talking about earlier. Basically, after the finishing banner, the group eases up. I think it is part of the nature of the course. It's pretty flat in here, but in a way it will be mental as well. The group just finished the first lap, and I think that finishing lap means recovery in everyone's minds, however subconscious that is. This time my performance on Clicker was better than in the first lap. I still arrived pretty, I would say, in the middle of the group, but at the very least I was able to stay with the group after the climb on the descent, so this was a better performance. So at this point, I should probably talk about what are the criteria for me to get promoted into B finally. Apparently, you need to either reach specific value of your 4 to 6 minute power, which is called ZMAP. It is one of the indicators I show above my camera footage. Or you need to reach some value of your ZFTP. And as it turns out, I'm pretty close on both values. So that was giving me a little more motivation to push hard. However, whether or not I would be promoted to B after this race, I decided to race with B group even after the end of Zwift Games. I find racing in B very fun, it's very competitive, it's very fast, and it really pushes me to leave everything on the course. And I think for a motivational standpoint, it is way more beneficial for me to race with Bs, even if I am technically allowed to do still C races. In the discussions online, I've always read that the jump from C to B is the biggest jump you can make in Zwift ranking. And To be absolutely honest, I didn't feel that really. I felt that the jump from D to C was harder, because when I got promoted to C from the D category, I was really struggling to keep with any group. While right now I can somewhat compete in B category. Of course, I'm nowhere near the podium, but I can really hang out with the riders. In this race, I was able to hang out with the front group, which isn't actually that surprising. Short races really suit me well, and I'm always strong in short races. But even in the previous race, the Zwift Epic race, I finished in the first 1/3 of the race. So from now on, B category will be what I call home, basically no matter what my ranking says. This was the halfway point of the race, and at this point I was really getting tired. As you can see, my heart rate was creeping into high 170s, and I really needed to convince myself to continue with the front group. As you can see, I did continue with the front group, so once again, my perceived limitations were not physical. I clearly had what it took to stay with the group, but the limitation was mental. I was hurting, and I was thinking about whether or not it's worth hurting this much over potential result. And while the answer is pretty much always yes, it is worth it, it is very hard to convince yourself of that in the middle of the race where it is really uncomfortable. I actually think this might be the hardest part of the race mentally, because when you are hurting by the end of the race, you can still convince yourself that it will be very soon over, that you will soon recover. But at a halfway point of the race, there is still this thought that pretty much the thing that you just did, you need to do all over again, but you are starting in pain, basically. So that is a very bad, intrusive thought that can really shatter your plan. And you need just to go. You just need to push through that. And when you are finally able to, that's a very important milestone in your mental development during sports, because that moment basically becomes a cookie in your cookie jar, virtual cookie jar that you can reach back to in following races. When you feel just as bad, you can tell yourself, okay, I felt this bad in the previous race as well, and I know I was able to surpass that, and I can do it again. and it really helps you dial in, focus, and beat the pain that is crippling you. By the way, this concept of virtual cookie jar is a concept I learned from David Goggins' book, Can't Hurt Me. David Goggins is a former Navy SEAL who was really able to master his mind and really go way past of what you would think that human body is even capable of. If you are struggling during races, not with your physical abilities, but with your mental toughness, with the ability to really push when it hurts, I strongly suggest you read that book. It's, once again, it's from David Goggins. It's called Can't Hurt Me. It is one of the few books I found truly inspirational in this regard. And I think it is because all the other books that are focusing on this topic are done from writers. But David Goggins is primarily an athlete, and it really gives the book the ability to transfer the power he found to you. This was, by the way, a great effort up the Clyde kicker. I really think I was able to dig really deep, but the downside of this effort was it made me really tired, especially my legs. As you can see, at this point I was starting to hit 180 BPM, and that's for me quite a red zone. But I was still with the front group, and that was more than I expected at this point. So I tried to continue with them. We were approaching the end of the lap 4, so there wasn't much left in the race, and I really felt this effort could really push me forward. After crossing the banner and starting lap 5, I really felt that the group started to go with 3Ks left. You can see it on this passage of the race. Usually this was the recovery phase.
I don't have much anymore.
And as you can hear from my remark in the race, I was sure I was nearing my capacity to stay with this group. Last Clyde kicker. The funny thing is, this wasn't the thing that finally broke me. As you can see, I did pretty good effort up the hill, but at the top of the climb, I really didn't have the power to continue with the group, and I was finally dropped. I still consider it a huge success that I was able to go with them for as long. After all, I'm still Sea Rider technically, and these guys are the front B group. So this was, from my point of view, an excellent effort. But yeah, it would be nice to hang out with them till the end and really decide the outcome of the race in the finishing sprint. But I'm still very, very happy with how I was able to perform in this race. My main focus at this point was to keep the power up, at least to some degree. Obviously, when you are dropped, you have that subtle mental note that at this point I don't really need to push the power because I don't have a group to stay with. But I was still racing for my power duration curve to be promoted to B. So I tried to keep up the power. And here we are approaching the home stretch of this race. Unfortunately, I wasn't promoted to B after this effort, albeit very good. It still wasn't enough. In order to be promoted to B, you need to reach 3.36 watts per kilo on your FTP, and I had 3.355. So I'm very, very close, but it wasn't enough. Doesn't matter, I'll continue pushing. Thank you for staying me. Enjoy the rest of the race. If you liked it, like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next race. Ciao.
.6 watts per kilo.